Hello, hi friends, welcome to my messy garage for another bonus video, another bonus Babbletalk, mainly because last night I thought, it's getting late, but I don't know, let's watch the newest Doctor Who. And then it was 3 a.m. and I just kept thinking to myself, maybe it'll be okay. And maybe it was. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. A few things to note before we dive into the episode. The BBC news arm of the BBC continues to platform transphobic rhetoric and continues not to do anything about it. I'll link some videos down below about some of that. It's probably helpful to know I have been a Whovian since Tennant's era. It was like my favorite hyperfixation for many years. If you don't know me, you can call me Totes or May or whatever. It's fine. My pronouns are she, they, and I do a lot of different things. Too many things, all the things, but today I am hyper-focused on this Doctor Who episode. And so, other thing to note, I have not watched Doctor Who since the Flux thing. I can't, my brain just can't even deal with it, honestly. So the episode starts off with a group of space people and the cyber masters, because they're not cybermen anymore since the master assimilated some of the Gallifreyan Time Lords into cyber people. But either way, the Doctor is with Dave and Yaz, and they pop in to stop the cyber lords from taking over what appears to be a child, because there's this child in a box and they get her. So I don't know. We find ourselves in Siberia 1916 with Grigory Rasputin, which is the master. He's the master being creepy and doing mastery shenanigans. And one of the shenanigans is causing a bunch of art in 2022 to have the faces replaced with Rasputin / the master's face. There's never really an explanation for why this happens, at least not that I could find in the episode. And I have a lot of questions. But as you will see throughout this, one of the things I've realized is my biggest complaint with Chibnall's work on Doctor Who is that he likes to just add a bunch of threads to things and throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, and nothing really sticks and nothing really gets connected or closed or put in a way that feels done. One thing I do love about this episode, though, is that it definitely does a good job of playing off the nostalgia of past Doctors and past companions. I love having Tegan and Ace in, because even though I did not watch the series that they were in 30 and 40 years ago, I have been a Whovian long enough to have grown an appreciation for when we get to see past characters come back. It always brings me a lot of joy. But what's happening is, I guess, Tegan gets this Cyberman action figure inside a Russian nesting doll with a note saying it's from the Doctor, and she's talking to Ace about it. And then they're also going to bring Kate from Unit in on this, because Ace is concerned about the volcanoes, Tegan is concerned about the art, and Kate is in charge of Unit, so she's trying to help find out what's going on and save the day, which is supposed to be her job. The Doctor and Yaz start trying to get things ready for their next step in catching the Cybermasters. Dave decides that he's done. He's almost at enough times now. That's it. He's good. And it feels like it should have more meaning. And that's another thing you'll probably hear me say a lot throughout this video, is it feels like they're trying to do something. It feels like I'm supposed to feel a certain way, but they're not doing a good job. I don't know. Basically, David's I'm done, and I'm gonna go attack life or whatever, and the Doctor says, cool, have fun, bye. And so as Dave and Yaz are saying their goodbyes, the Doctor is thinking about what's next, and a hologram of a Dalek appears, offering to work with the Doctor to give her the key to Dalek genocide or whatever, and it's clearly a trap. But she doesn't care, because the Doctor has wanted to genocide the Daleks forever or whatever. We've done this before. It just feels like a lot of, we've done this before, but it doesn't feel like a callback. It feels like a copy. I don't know if that makes sense. I think what's frustrating too is because I stopped watching after Flux, because I just, and honestly, even though I watched the Flux arc a few times trying to figure out what was going on, I've missed a lot of the Master's progression, which I don't know if you could really call it progression. It feels like regression, but when Sasha Dawen's first appearance as the Master happened early on in the 13th Doctor's run, I was really excited about him. I thought that he was pulling from some of my favorite bits of like Missy and John Sims' Master, and it was feeling like it was his own thing, and I was really like excited about it and excited to see how it turned out, and then to skip ahead and kind of see how it turned out and just be so incredibly disappointed. Like, did we totally retcon the Mistress Missy's entire arc of story for her character? Like, did none of that happen? Did it happen? I know that the Master is always supposed to be evil, and even Missy's, he also gets like really close to people's faces. Like, it's just like an invasion of space, and there's so much close up on his beard, and I just like don't need it. I don't need it, and I don't know why we have it. I'm having a really hard time following what the purpose of him pretending to be Rasputin is. That's just not something that like is making sense to me. And it's still, I'm watching it for a second time now as I make this video, and I'm still like, I still don't know what the purpose is, except for to give him a big creepy beard and make him be extra creepy. Because to be fair, Rasputin as a character is like definitely like high creep factors. For sure. I get it. It's the beard. Like, and if you have a beard, that's great. I'm sure that on you, it's not gross. Maybe it is. High definition close-ups of like your beard follicles, that is very upsetting to me. So Yaz and the Doctor head to this like big metal planet that is like similar to Gallifrey, but not Gallifrey, and there's another TARDIS there, and it's like clearly put there by the Master. And I guess like at this point, the Doctor doesn't know the Master is involved, which, like, I don't really understand how she doesn't know that he's involved, because I feel like he was introduced a long time ago. But that's fine. Probably something I missed. And when they go into the Master's TARDIS, he's basically hooked it up to the planet and is, like, using the core of the TARDIS to do something nefarious, which I feel like the Master has done before with the TARDIS. I feel like it has to do with the death of the Doctor, and maybe it was during Matt Smith's run. I feel like I'm having flashbacks like Vincent van Gogh, which is a whole other thing. It's like, why the paintings when like we've already done that before a little bit, but also like there's no one is explaining enough to me. And so then they find the child that the cyber masters or whatever were trying to catch, and she's like floating in a weird way that's like very Exorcist style, chained to a planet, but apparently she's not actually a child. She's a big noodle monster entity. a big noodle alien who has a lot of, like, just a big sea anemone in the sky that they're harnessing for the power. So apparently the TARDIS's power wasn't enough, so instead they're also using Noodle Child. Again, it just feels like a lot of stuff. The Doctor's like trying to figure out what's happening, but instead like more like Cyber Lord guys show up and are like, no. And then we cut to Unit, London headquarters, 2022, because Kate has called the Doctor for help. Apparently there's some missing seismologists as well as the weird painting situation. I do love Tegan and Ace getting to meet the Doctor as Jodie Whittaker, because you think about, like, especially for Ace, who was, like, young, kind of, like, super cool punk companion, to see the Doctor as a woman, I think. Like, I can imagine how that would be really cool. But, I don't know. We end up with this scene with Kate and Tegan and Ace and Jodie and Yaz that feels like, very, like, girl. Like, it feels like it's supposed to be super girl power, but it falls short, and I'm not quite sure what about the scene falls short in that. Like, I can imagine how it's supposed to make me feel as a longtime Whovian, as a fan of the show, as somebody who didn't necessarily watch the original series, but has seen enough clips and pieces of it that, like, seeing past Doctors and past companions usually brings me joy and hits, like, good nostalgia buttons. I don't know. The whole thing just felt awkward, and I guess it's supposed to, but like, why? As Kate is showing the Doctor and Tegan and Ace all the like messed up paintings with Rasputin / the Master's face on them, we get a cut in from the Master pretending to be like, I don't know, a geography professor, being like, ooh, come watch my seismology lecture. And I'm just like, why? So they show up at the Master's lecture or whatever and arrest him with UNIT. They bring the Master into the TARDIS? Why? Trying to get into Yaz's head, and he tells her that he ingested the Cyberium. I don't know. It's just like, it's not working. I just don't understand what his plan is. We do get a throwback to Flux. Zvinder is, I guess, on his way? I don't know how, I don't know. He crashes on the metal planet. I don't know how he ended up there or why he was trying to go there. But here he is, and, which is great. I do like him, but I still, like, don't understand his story. The Doctor is now meeting with the traitor Dalek, even knowing and saying, like, yeah, it's probably a trap, but, like, I gotta go find out. And it's just like, but why? Because what this Dalek is supposedly giving you is genocide power, and we've already, like, done this story. We've already done the Doctor tries to genocide the Daleks. Like, it's already been done. There's lots of lava, which I guess it's the seismology stuff, again, that we're getting to. That's why he was, like, doing a seismology lecture. I guess it was about volcanoes or something. Again, it's hard for me to follow what's happening in this show, and maybe that's my fault. Maybe it's me. I don't know. Let me know. Are you a fan of Chibnall's work on the Doctor, or on the Doctor Who series? Do you think it is that they are threads that you can follow, and maybe it is just my brain not being able to follow them? But either way, the Doctor's meeting the Dalek in this freaking volcano, because why not? And does a data transfer with it? So as that's happening, Yaz is like looking around the volcano, because why not? And there's a bunch of Daleks and a big drill. So we go back to UNIT with Tegan and Ace, and the Master is like starting to like mess around with stuff. And one thing that he said to Tegan made me realize that there was a callback to something I didn't know. Apparently Tegan's aunt was turned into like a small doll, like a matter decompressor situation. And so like having that knowledge, receiving a small Cyberman, you wouldn't immediately be suspicious of a small Cyberman. That it wouldn't make her think about the Master who turned her family into a small thing. It wouldn't make her think about, like I don't know. It just, like, the little Cyberman toy recompresses into a giant Cyberman, and they help the Master escape UNIT, and I guess he's taken something from UNIT as he goes, because of course this was all on part of his plan. And now the Daleks are catching the Doctor in the volcano, so they stick her into this weird Dalek prison thing. They teleport her to their spaceship. Yaz still has the TARDIS, so she runs off to try and find what's next, which, like, this part does feel very, like, regeneration episode Doctor Who, right? My experience, at least for the last couple of Doctors, it has always sort of felt like, yes, the Doctor is, like, trying to do something to fight the big bad, which is often the Master, but it's the Doctor's companions coming together that really save the day. That's always, like, a core value of Doctor Who that I've always appreciated, is that, like, yes, the Doctor is super powerful and super smart and all of that stuff, but, like, what it really comes down to, the difference between the Doctor and the Master is that the Doctor has friends. Power of magic, or magic of friendship, or whatever. But we're in Russia with Rasputin Master and his scary beard and his invasion of space and rejection of boundaries, and he's in this room with Daleks and Cybermen who he's apparently convinced to work with him, and he's like, you know, doing the villain monologuing thing, trying to explain his plan to, like, kill the Doctor, erase the Doctor. So he tells the Doctor that his plan is to erase her via forced regeneration, which, like, the whole thing never really made sense, doesn't really make sense to me, but I was looking up, like, how did all the Doctors die? Like, what caused them all to regenerate? And early on, I think it's the second Doctor, Troughton, I'm probably saying that wrong, but he was forced to regenerate by the Gallifreyan Council for not following the rules. And so, like, they were like, okay, you have to regenerate, but he, like, couldn't choose or something. And so then they forced it. We do get this, like, and I don't know. Okay, I don't really understand how this is supposed to erase the Doctor, but sure. And then we do get, like, a serial killer John Sims Master-esque, like, dancing scene with the Master, which I do like. That felt... So, like, at this point, we are 51 minutes into the 2-hour, 2-part episode. He continues to keep the, like, creepy vibe to his dance moves. Like, his dance moves feel like a threat. It's, like, too cartoon villainy. Like, you know what it is? It's Ice King from Adventure Time without the penguins. That's the vibe he gives me. He gives me Princess Kidnapper vibes. I didn't get that vibe from him when they first introduced him as the Master. Like, the Master definitely would kidnap some princesses. based on what I know. So we're, like, getting deep into this, and, you know, we're halfway through the 2-part episode, and the Master is succeeding in his plans to force regeneration upon the Doctor, which, like, everything about it just feels very icky, which, to be fair, like, the Master is supposed to be evil, like, what he's doing is supposed to feel icky, but, like, it also just feels stupid, because, like, what ends up happening is basically, like, I guess, like, the Master's body is, like, just left as a husk, and then his body becomes the Doctor's body, and then she's put into, like, the, like, regeneration consciousness place. I don't know. I don't understand why. So, like, whatever the character arc for the Master is, he's now decided that he wants to be the Doctor to tarnish the Doctor's name and make everyone hate her or whatever, but she's gonna be gone and he's gonna be the Doctor, so why would he want that? It doesn't make any freaking sense, and it just feels like you killed the Doctor and now you want to be the Doctor. Like, you don't have to take over her clothes. And then, like, once he decides that he's the Doctor, like, he's even creepier, because now he's like, I need my companion. And, like, this is where, like, John Hamm's the Reverend from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I don't really understand what Chibnall was going for with this part of the story arc. Like, what is the reason? Like, I understand the Master's motivation to kill the Doctor. I understand the Master's motivation to want to take over the Doctor's life. And so, like, and the Master continues to, like, invade people's spaces, and there's a scene with him and Yaz where he, like, yells at her about being the Doctor. Graham is there. I'm glad to see him. I like Graham. But there's not really any explanation for how he ends up in a volcano in Bolivia, except for he's, like, just pretending to be a volcano inspector, I guess? And so, I don't really know. I'm glad he's here. I just feel like it would have been nice, in the same way, like, Vinder just kind of, like, accidentally lands on this, like, crash lands on this planet. Like, why is Graham doing this all by himself? And so Ashad's like, the Doctor's not coming. You're never gonna get saved by the Doctor again. And Kate says, I choose to believe otherwise, which, like, it's like, I keep having flashbacks to End of Time and Children of Time. It was all about, like, this faith in the Doctor, which I guess was, like, I mean, it was definitely heartwarming and cute and cheesy in, like, a Doctor Who kind of way. It feels like it wants to be girl power, but it isn't. And it just feels, like, clunky. The Master says, unleash the volcanoes, and we get, like, it just feels very upsetting. The whole scene with the, like, drill that's not even, like, drilling, it's, like, pounding the ground. It just, like, we get Joe Martin's Doctor as the hologram to come in and distract the Master and all the Cybermen and stuff, and so, of course, they pull the, go ahead and try and shoot me, and then they all shoot each other because they're shooting at a hologram. I'm really happy to see Joe Martin. I would have loved more of her. They force the Master back into the tube thing for the regeneration. He tries to fight them. Vinder shoots him because Vinder doesn't mind shooting stuff. Moral of the story is the greatest strength of the Doctor is that she has friends. That's kind of always been their key difference, is that they both have dealt with a ton of trauma, a ton of suffering, but the Doctor had people to rely on. and the Master never has. Which I guess makes sense why the Master would, like, want to be the Doctor in order to have that, but, like, why not just be the Doctor then instead of, like, being yourself as the Doctor? Just, like, why not just, like, stop being a jerk? Like, I don't know. So they reverse the forced regeneration, and Jodie Whittaker is back. But of course, like, his sort of line is like, well, if I can't be the Doctor, then no one can. And so he, like, shoots at her with big, scary noodle alien beam. So the Doctor's trying to figure out how to stop the 2022 volcanoes and the 1916 metal planet over Siberia. And it's just, what is the purpose of either of those things? I guess the cyber planet is supposed to be able to convert the entire of humanity to cyber people. And the Daleks just want to cover the whole planet in lava. The Doctor says all hands on deck, calls in the companions to help, and they basically, like, move into, like, the super fast action mode where they stop all of the bad stuff from happening. Graham and Ace blow up the big phallic drill thing and destroy the Daleks with the help of the Doctor, who came to, like, whisk them away just in time. Big volcano explosions. I don't think I ever got an explanation for why the Master was putting his face on all of the paintings other than to be a jerk. Unsurprisingly. Tegan and Kate managed to defeat the Cybermen, in the process destroying the entire unit building, but, you know, that's fine. And I guess the Master isn't dead after his whole failed forced regeneration situation. He's, like, still in his Rasputin body with the scary beard, and he's, like, pulling, like, the full, like, horror movie villain action, like, crawling around, trying to go find the Doctor to go, I don't know, give her what for, I guess. And in order to, like, stop whatever's gonna be next, everybody has their hands on the TARDIS to fly it, which is very cute. She sets it up so that way Vinder can escape through the wormhole and get back to his family. I still don't quite know why he was here, except for the fact that he was, like, a temporary companion during the Flux stuff. So the Doctor uses her TARDIS to jumpstart the Master's TARDIS in order to basically, like, pull it from being the power source of the space-time stuff for the cyber planet. I guess. Trying to tie up all those threads. Alright, so 1916, scary planet disappears. 2022. I guess she's using the two TARDISes to stop the lava flow with, I don't know what this beam is that's being used. An ice beam? A time beam? It's a beam! It's doing stuff! It's stopping the lava! She froze them into steel, apparently. So the Doctor asks Noodle Alien to use all of their energy to disintegrate Cyber Planet, and this is where we get the scene where he's just like, no! And so he, I guess, has control of Alien Noodle powers, and so he uses it to shoot the Doctor with the Noodle Alien's big ray of doom, and that's bad. That's not good. Yaz runs to the Doctor, and the Doctor's dying. We know she's dying, that she's gonna regenerate, and so it's like, okay. Can the Master just be dead now? That's good. Okay. But she gets to do her final goodbyes. Her and Yasmin get to have their last ice cream cone sitting on top of the TARDIS, looking over the Earth. Like, I cried. Don't get me wrong. Like, I cried. But I also just felt like I was crying for, you know, the grief of the end of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, but also just like, I wish it could have been so much better. I just wish it could have been so much better. So we get sort of the closeout of the finale. We get a bunch of old companions meeting for a support group to talk about their experiences. Kate talking about recruiting some of them for some unit stuff. Is there a spin-off around unit coming? I do appreciate Jodie's sort of like last words, like her intention for her run of like, you know, being sad because she wants to see what's next. Like, that hits my heart a little bit. That's like a big grief feeling. And so her final words are, Doctor, whoever I'm about to be, tag, you're it. Which I do think is cute. Then here, like, you know, we get the whole like big regeneration scene. So we already know that this is supposed to lead into next year's November 2023 60th anniversary episode with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And that's how the episode ends, how the series, or the season finale ends, how Jodie Whittaker's run ends. Have you been able to watch the newest seasons of Doctor Who? Were you able to watch the finale? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Tell me what you think, because I'm still processing just all the threads that I feel like they wanted to pretend we're all tied up in a nice little bow at the end, but just like, I think overall my review of the finale is disappointing. And I'm hopeful for the future of the show, but I'm sad that Jodie Whittaker didn't get what I feel like would have been the opportunity to really shine in her role. And that's too bad. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for me today. I have been working on this for way longer than I was anticipating. I hope that you are taking care of yourself today. I hope that you're able to watch something that brings you joy. I think I might go back and start watching the Doctor Who series, starting with series 1 with Eccleston and kind of going through it and giving my brain a break from modern BBC issues and stuff. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, it would be cool if you liked and subscribed. I think that's like a thing. I haven't fully figured that out yet. Maybe, we'll see. And I also have some socials. You can find me on the interwebs. Till next time. Bye.
Thank you again for watching. And a huge thank you to our patrons for supporting the channel, to all of you who helped to make this possible. T-Pow Vulcan, Kathy MP, Queen Lottie Plays, Grumpy Gamer, Cargo High. I appreciate you all so much.